to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I'm going to tell you something, okay? And you can either be like, whatever, Rachel, like, it's not a big deal, or it's just a coincidence, or you can be like, yeah, that's weird. So here we go. You know how I'm listening to the book Signs, and it's called Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe. And I've been like, I'm totally going to try to believe this. Like, I want to believe it. So I'm just going to try to believe it. Okay. So I decided after listening to just a couple chapters of the book, I'm like, all right, well, let me try this out. So the book said, like, that it like talks about how all these different things can be signs for ways that people who have passed communicate with us. And it says something to the effect of, even when we're not looking for it, like people who have passed are that energy is like still there, and that's something that if you remember, like just a couple weeks ago, I was talking about that exact same thing about the energy. So if you are open to paying attention to signs and stuff like that, that you can start having I don't care if you laugh at me, you can start having like a sign that you come up with for one of your loved ones, and they will speak to you through these signs. Okay, I'm laughing at myself because it sounds ridiculous, but I'm just saying it anyway. Okay. So this is what I did. There's this guy that I went to high school with, that I was totally puppy love with. And I dated him for like a hot second, and then I broke up with him, and then I decided that I want to date him again, but then he was like, I don't want to have anything to do with you again. And so he ended up dating somebody else, and I was like infatuated with him until he graduated from high school, and he ended up getting in a motorcycle accident, and he died. So I was devastated. It was the summer before I was going off to college, and that's pretty much the mentality, or the grieving process that I never experienced when I was drinking. That happened all until I was like 42 years old and I got sober. Like, I never grieved this guy. I didn't know how. I was devastated for a long time. For decades, I was devastated about this loss. Because I didn't grow. I didn't go. I didn't move past it. I didn't move through it. It was just there, and it was very difficult for me. Well, after he passed, so I'm starting in the, back then, I just want to tell you one thing before I fast forward to today. What happened this week? Okay. So, back then, he passed. There was a funeral, and then the day after, or the night after the funeral, I had a dream, and he was in the dream, and he was standing at the top of my driveway. We had a driveway that was like super, super slopey, and he was standing at the top of the driveway, and I was looking up at him, and he was just smiling. He didn't say anything. He was just smiling. That was it. I think I maybe even tried to talk to him, and he wouldn't respond. He was just smiling. That was it. So when I woke up, I felt very strongly that that was him telling me, like, he's okay. Like, he's moved on. He's okay, because he was smiling. But I didn't really tell anybody about it. It was just like I may have told somebody in passing, but I never wanted to take it too seriously because I would have thought somebody thought I was silly. Okay. So I'm reading this book, right? Fast forward to this week. So I'm reading this science book and I'm like, all right, well, let's try this. I'm going to pick Starburst as as your sign, John. His name is John. I'm going to pick Starburst as your sign. And and that's it. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for a sign of starburst, and that will be the sign that you are still here and you've been here through all of these years. Okay, so I'm like walking my, I'm not thinking of it constantly, but I'm walking my dog and I'm like, maybe I'll see a starburst laying on the ground or something like that. Yes, I have way too much time on my hands. Okay. But I'm like waiting to see maybe a starburst or on the ground or something like that. I'm like, do I have starburst as in my candy jar? No, I don't have any starburst in my candy jar. So then it just like I forget about it. Okay. Well, then the next night, so 24 hours later, I walk Autumn up to the elementary school that's right by my house that I bring her up to so she can run off leash illegally for a little bit. So we go up there, and there's this little girl there and her big brother. And she comes right up to us, which is very unusual. She comes right up to us, and Autumn had a ball in her mouth, and she's like, "Can I throw your ball to your dog?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Let me take her off the leash. Are you okay with that?" And she said, "Yeah." And I looked at her big brother, and he was like, "Yeah." So I took Autumn off the leash, and Autumn practiced handing the ball to the little girl, and she would throw the ball, and come back. And okay, so the the big brother was calling the little girl Evelyn. Um, and I didn't think anything of it. And I finally I said when we were wrapping up, like I was only they were talking to them for like 5 minutes, and we were wrapping up, and I said, Evelyn is a really beautiful name. And she said, thank you. Sometimes I call myself Sprinkle Star. And I went, what? And she said, sometimes I call myself Sprinkle Star. And I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. Starburst, Sprinkle Star. I'm telling you, that was it. That was my sign. Okay. So I'm walking back and I think, Evelyn, what was the name? Okay, so John had a dog. He had a little puppy that he got for himself after he graduated, and I was like trying to figure out what the puppy's name was. Because I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if the little puppy's name was Evelyn? But it wasn't. It was Samantha. I thought of it the a couple days later. It was Samantha. But anyway, I'm walking back to the house and I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's it. It was Sprinkle Star, Starburst. That's very similar. And it's funny because that's like so part of the book is like, it may be similar to what you're asking for the sign to be, but sometimes it has a funny twist to it. Anyway, okay, so I'm like, yeah, totally. So I said, so the book says you thank the person for sending you a sign. So this is what I did. I was like, thank you, John, for sending me a sign. And I was just kind of laughing at myself the whole time. Okay. And if you think I'm crazy, it's totally fine. I'm totally fine with you thinking I'm crazy. So then I'm walking back and I'm like, I think you can do better, John. I think you can send me a better sign. And then, so um, I end up, sorry. And then I'm thinking like the next day, so nothing happens. I just say, I think you can send me a better sign. So in the book, the author is talking about how sometimes the person who passed will just send you signs. They may not be what you agreed upon, but something that they enjoy. Like if they enjoyed, oh, I'm like looking at rainbows or painting rainbows, or, they had a big thing about rainbows, or if the person really liked race cars or something like that, like, then look, you may see signs of things that that person really liked. I'm like, okay, but you don't really know. Yeah, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here, and I'm looking for signs, which I've never done before, but it's fun. Okay. So the next day, I go back to the school because I'm thinking maybe this little girl will be there again, and there'll be another sign. Okay, so I'm like trying to expose myself. So I walk up to the school, and I'm thinking maybe the little girl is there. So I walk up the hill, and at the same playground, there's another little girl. And I'm like, oh, is that her? Because it looked similar to her. But her mom was there, but it wasn't. The little girl was a little bit younger than the one that I talked to. So I'm like, I guess, this is a stretch, Rachel. Like, what are you doing anyway? You're crazy. You're losing your mind. So I keep walking, and I walk to on the side of the school. Okay, here we go. Then all of a sudden, this little boy on a motorcycle goes like, just starts coming up the sidewalk. He has a helmet on, and he's riding on this little motorcycle. And so I get Autumn, and we move to the side in the grass, and he goes, thank you. And he rides past, and I was like, I mean, my jaw dropped to the ground, okay, because the accident that John got in was a motorcycle accident, okay? So I'm like, what is happening? So I decide to turn around and start looking to see. I'm like, okay, well, the little boy's probably going behind the school to ride around on this. There's like a running path behind the school that goes around like a soccer field kind of area. So I'm like, oh, he's probably going to be driving around that circle. And so I go back to look if he's back there, and he just dipped out of sight and goes on the other side of the school and out of sight. So that was it. That was all. The little boy just rode by on his motorcycle. Okay, that's number two. Okay, that's number two. Number three. So I decide, okay, this is amazing. We're gonna try the next person. So I'm like, definitely Grammy and Grandpop. So Grammy and Grandpop, what can the sign be? Well, birds was always a big deal for my grandparents. So even so, like my Grammy used to write me letters in college, and she would, sit down, and she's writing the letter, and she said, in the letter, she's like, I'm looking out of the kitchen window right now, and there's birds, like, and she's talking about the birds outside of the window, and I always thought that was adorable, that's what she was doing, and that's what she would write about. She would write about what was happening in the moment when she was writing to me, rather than having some kind of planned topic. And I really loved that. I still have her letters, I think, somewhere. So I thought, okay, well, I can't just pick birds as the sign because there's birds everywhere. So what is a bird that I never see around here? Like I see cardinals all the time. So I thought a bluebird. And then I thought, in fact, let's do two bluebirds together. And then that will be my sign that from my grandparents. So, so I'm walking around, and then nothing happens. The next day, it's always the next day. It's never the same day. So the next day, I'm walking around and walking Autumn, and there's birds everywhere. And but I don't see any bluebirds. So I thought, well, this is a stretch, and I'll be really surprised if I see a bluebird, because it's so hot outside right now that there's really not a lot of birds that are super, well, I mean, they are all over the place, but I don't know. Anyway, we don't see a lot of bluebirds. So I get back to the house and I look over in my garden and I have a wind chime that my mom gave me. I have a wind chime and it's a blue bird. In the wind chime. I'm telling you, like, if you don't believe, that's fine. But if you want to try to believe, it's super fun. And I'm gonna keep doing it. So we have one bluebird. So I said thank you for sending me a sign, but we're gonna need to do better. I always challenge a little better. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That was yesterday that I challenged to do better because I asked for two bluebirds, not one bluebird. But the book said, like, if it's something unusual, you may see it in a different form. And that's exactly what I saw. I saw a bluebird in my garden as a wind chime. So there you go. We are playing around with signs and it's super fun. So try it. It's super fun. So I think that that's just going to be my topic today. I do have another topic, but I don't want to switch from being super excited about signs and moving over to a more personal topic. So, we're just going to stop there. We're just going to stop and focus on signs today. So give it a try. Even if you think you're crazy, just do it. It's fun. I mean, who's watching? You can do whatever you want. It's fun. So, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.